It is time to breathe again on the latest BOFA Sports webcast streaming live on YouTube, Facebook, and Twitch. So, bracket, yes. I know, I got the opening right.
You got it right on the first time.
Yes. Hopefully the rest of the show is on point like that.
I'm impressed.
Appreciate it. So along with Patrick Brackett, I'm Charles Taylor, and we are back to discuss a few items. The Super Bowl over in the NFL, it is set, and it's familiar teams. These two teams met a couple of years ago. Kansas City Chiefs.
Boring.
Kansas City Chiefs, Philadelphia Eagles. They will meet in a couple of weeks down in New Orleans for the championship. And if the Chiefs win, it'll be 3 straight. So we'll talk about that game more specifically next week because you got 2 weeks for the hype to build up. Yep, Patrick, it's all right, man. Wake up. We're not going to talk about that right now.
Good.
But let's start with what we saw in those championship games. And we'll start on the NFC side with the Eagles. They just pulled away in that score of 55.
There was no contest from the 62-yard Barkley run.
Yeah.
To the house, and that was game. I don't need to say anymore. Hey, there you go. Philly.
The score of 55-23, it definitely got away from the Commanders, but turnovers, that was the difference.
That was the story right there, was the turnovers.
You have 4 turnovers, and the Eagles scored 28 points off turnovers. Every time you lost the ball, a fumble, straight up touchdown right off the bat. We will get to that soon there, Aaron. Good to see you, by the way. Appreciate it.
Hey, how do you not give that man Dude, we had that conversation about Baltimore just last week, how Derrick Henry doesn't get carries. And then they're going to turn around and then not give Cook carries? Right. It's the same old song and dance. You know what I'm saying?
You get into the moments of truth. That is when you need to lean on that identity a little bit more. And it seems sometimes when you get into a championship game or maybe the Super Bowl or any other sport, championship, whatever it is, these teams get away. They get away from their identity. They get away from the things that have gotten them there. And I do think, based off of what Aaron said, James Cook definitely should have got more carries. They were a more ball control team. They weren't asking Josh Allen to put on the Superman cape all the time. But they
and then that last possession, like three straight passes and Cook doesn't touch the ball on that. I was like, okay.
But more on that in a minute. I think with the Eagles and the Commanders, look, the Commanders, they were playing with house money. A lot of people didn't expect them to be at this point, and they just ran into a better team right now. The Eagles are a little bit better built. The defense is strong for Philly as well, and for Saquon Barkley. All right, so here he is. He's going to the Super Bowl, and he spent all of those years up in New York with the Giants as a once proud franchise, but now putrid franchise. And this, I bet running backs all over the place are just saying, yo, you still do this thing. And I think the running back position has turned into a position of, oh, well, we're not trying to pay this guy. We don't think he can carry the load for us, then we're just going to go to the next guy. That's business as a whole. And in football, except for the running back position, you know who is good and you know who is not. It's still the same thing in the running back. Like, yes, I understand you can use multiple running backs, but there are still special running backs. Saquon Barkley is one of those special running backs. It's like Derrick Henry. Yeah, like that.
James Cook turning out to be.
Yeah.
And, surprise, surprise, Philly uses their running back and look where they're at. And Buffalo doesn't. And Baltimore doesn't. And now they're going home. I was like, Baltimore and Buffalo?
Just stick with the guys. Stick with the dudes that you were leaning on. I mean, Saquon Barkley ran for over 2,000 yards this year, and in both playoff games, he had huge games against the Rams and now the Commanders, and they didn't get too far. They ran the ball, set up the pass. You can set up the pass. You have Jalen Hurts who can hit A.J. Brown, Devontae Smith, Dallas Goedert at tight end. Just stick to what you got a good defense that can turn the ball over and can get pressure. Jalen Carter, I know you love that, Georgia homeboy. Jalen Carter and Jordan Davis beasting in the middle of that line. Nolan Smith coming off the end, and Nakobe Dean, he'd been hurt, so we'll see if he comes back for the Super Bowl. But yeah, half your defense is Georgia.
Yeah, Georgia North.
Yeah. So yeah, that's
just so you know.
So
the reason why I'm wearing this shirt is because Georgia's going to the Super Bowl.
Okay. Georgia North is going to the Super Bowl. Gotcha. But
I got something to root for.
Yeah. But I mean, they're like you said, man, there's not too much to say in the NFC side. This was a matter of the Eagles just being a little bit better than the Commanders at the time. And if the Commanders were going to win, well, hell, I mean, I picked them to win, but I knew it was going to take maybe some breaks. Like the Eagles had to have some turnovers, and the Commanders are going to have some sort of a defensive or special teams touchdown. Jaden Daniels would have to put on the Superman cape, and he actually played pretty well, but just those fumbles by the receiver, De'Ami Brown, he had a fumble. They fumbled on special teams themselves to set the Eagles up on a short field, and when you give a team like the Eagles those short fields, then it's a wrap, and you get 55-23. So,
I mean, and honestly, some of those, I mean, like I said, their very first play, you might as well had Eagles on a short field there because Saquon Barkley pops off for a 62-yard run. Hey, that's a short field for Philly right there. I don't care what side of the field you're on, don't matter.
And how backbreaking is that for the Commanders?
Dude,
they had an 18-play drive to begin. They got a field goal. They're like, okay, cool. Crowds out the game a little bit, and then one play
to the house. It goes to show you that Philly came out with a great game plan. I mean, it took them 18 plays to get, and a lot of those, I think, didn't they convert on 1 4th down?
Well, I don't even know they were really hitting any 4th downs. They did. Well, now take that back. That one drive they hit A.J. Brown on the long one on 4th down. But they were just.
But other than that, Philly came out with a good game plan, man. I mean, and it is so demoralizing for a team, especially of like the Commanders' level right now, with the inexperience in key positions, because they haven't been in this position before. I'm fully suspected that the Commanders will be in this position again, right? And getting a taste of that playoff football, it's just people come back for that. You know what I mean? But you really had to hang your hat on Philly's experience in this position. I mean, they've been here time and time again. Here they are, and it's hard to put together an 18-play drive, get your field goal, First of all, you should have scored 7 on that one. Sorry, you had 18 plays. You're doing everything you're supposed to do by keeping Jalen off the field and keeping Saquon Barkley off the field and keeping that just with that Philly offense. Let's just keep that Philly offense off the field. And you put together an 18-play drive and you only come away with 3 points, and then you're like, okay, we move the football very, very well on the first drive. All you got to do is do that again. And then Barkley pops off with that. I mean, it's just like, okay.
It's going to be that day, huh?
And the Philly defense is doing this too, going, 1 play? Y'all couldn't do like 4? I mean, now we got to go back out there. But like you said, the turnovers just didn't help Washington. They just didn't help Washington. And Washington just kind of fell into that lack of experience. I'm not going to blame it on anything except for that lack of experience, that they just have not been in this situation before. I don't know if the stage was too big for them. I want to say that it wasn't, because they made it this far. But you are going against a high-powered Philly offense and defense, and at some point, that inexperience will take its toll. And unfortunately for the Commanders, it did on Sunday.
Yeah, and on the other end, Aaron pointed it out, and we've been talking about it a little bit. James Cook should have got more carries. Fact check me on this, Patrick, but I think he had 13 carries for the game.
Oh, check that right now.
Yeah, please. And 13 carries, and I think he had 85 yards. So
13 carries, 85 yards, 2 touchdowns.
That is 7 yards a carry.
And he's that is what I have never understood, is like, if you're going to pay attention to any kind of analytics, ESPN analytics, this Fox analytics, whatever analytics, how about let's just do simple math? How about that? I mean, it's like, we don't even have to have an analytic.
Doesn't have to be all that. It doesn't have to be all that.
Do simple math. And if I'm sitting here going, okay, James Cook, 13 carries, 85 yards.
He's got to get more carries.
You're going to run the ball.
Yeah.
I mean, coach, I'm tired. Run the ball. Go. Look, and Josh Allen, I mean, you got to give Josh Allen a lot of credit up until that
last. He played a great game.
He played a great game. He threw, 34, 35? Pat, let me look it up before I go run my mouth. I think 22 for 34 with 237 yards and 2 touchdowns, 0 interceptions. You asked this man to throw 34 times, and he did not mess up until the last play, until the last drive. You get the chance to get the ball back, decent field position, and you couldn't give the ball to James Cook at least one time. 7 yards a carry, and you can't give it to him one time. See, this is where I have to look at it and go, this is not an execution problem. This is not a player problem. This is not a talent problem. This is a coaching problem. This is a huge coaching problem. And I'm looking at it from Baltimore's standpoint. I'm looking at it from Buffalo's standpoint. That is a coaching problem. They executed. They did everything they were supposed to do. They did what they were supposed to do. They threw up 29 points. This is the most points that Kansas City has scored almost all year.
This is
the first time, first 1 or 2 times that they scored over 30 points? Everything else has been 30 or less. And even the Raiders kept them to 19?
Mm-hmm.
All right. Now, I will say this. Look, a lot of people say that that the refs are always got their problems. Look, yeah, they do. But be honest with you, this is probably the worst season I've seen with reffing across the entire league.
You say that every year.
It gets worse and worse every year. You know what I mean? Some of these plays, some of these things that these refs are calling. But look, we always say this is that everybody's working at the same disadvantage. So I don't see what the problem is. That's what I was going. Everybody's working at the same disadvantage. I will say this: Kansas City just gets their breaks. I mean, John, how does your tight end drop a ball like that on the last play, dude? Come on.
So, Patrick, I'm not gonna kill Dalton Kincaid for that, man, because
I'm not gonna kill him either, but he's got to catch that.
He's running the other way. Like that catch was a little bit tougher than how it looked. It did look like he had a good shot. I'm not saying he should not have caught the ball, but the play design was for him to run. He's running to, well, I guess if you're looking at it from behind Josh Allen, he's running to his right, and then he has to get this throw out because Kansas City caught this nasty corner blitz at this perfect time, and he's just throwing the ball just to give Kincaid a chance.
But here's my question for you, and this is the only reason why I would blow him up right here, is because I would look myself in the mirror and say, Patrick, should you have caught that ball? And my coaches always taught me, if it hits your hands, you better catch it.
No, Patrick.
You know what I'm saying? I would look at myself and say the same thing.
Of course, he's going to look at himself and say he should have caught that ball. So I'm not saying that at all. I'm just looking at it from the standpoint of that catch. It was a little bit more difficult than how it looked. Of course, he's going to look at himself and say that he should have caught the ball. Of course, yeah.
But I kind of feel like he should have. Now, I'm not sitting here saying that it's not a hard catch to catch, but you also get paid millions of dollars to make those hard catches. So
he should have made the catch, Patrick. I'm not debating that at all.
But it is hard. When I looked at it a couple of times, and I'm sitting here listening to some of these analysts, they're like, "Oh, that was just blah 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 blah," and I'm like, I mean, that is a hard catch. Now, don't get me wrong. Now, we've seen some amazing catches this year, one-handed, way above their heads, all of this stuff. I mean, but to redirect your body in a momentum that is forcing him one way, and he's having to come back the other to catch the ball. It's a difficult catch. Yeah, he's going to beat himself up all year. I hate the fact that he doesn't get an opportunity to redeem himself this year because, man, that is going to eat at him all off season.
Yeah, and that's all I'm saying, man. The degree of difficulty on that catch, that this wasn't a Mark Andrews situation from last week. Like that one, that Mark Andrews drop hit him in the stomach. That's got to be a catch 10 out of 10 times.
Oh, yeah.
So this one, a little bit more of a difficult transition. Like you said, he's running the other way. He got to come on back. But as it was, I thought that whole play was amazing to me. For Josh Allen to even get that out there.
On a half a throw. I mean, he threw it and his arm stopped here. And he still got it with some sort of rotation on it. And it still had an opportunity for a first down. That was amazing by Josh Allen. But at the same time, regardless of the situation, it should have never came down to that. Cook should have got his carry. One or two. He should have got his carry. He should have had his opportunity. And he didn't. So, be honest with you, that's where I think Buffalo really messed up. Shame on Buffalo for not giving Cook his carries. That's my thing. It should have never came down to that catch.
So I pointed this out on a shorty yesterday, and the thing with the coaching, like it's Steve Spagnuolo, the defense coordinator. Of course, you got Andy Reid as the main head coach. They always seem to make the right play call. This was not the situational coaching was what hurt Buffalo. As a whole, they were okay. I think, yes, Cook should have ran the ball more. He definitely should have got at least 7 more carries to get him his 20 carries. But overall, not terrible. But the situational coaching, the 2-point conversions. Buffalo missed 2-point conversions. Could have won the game if they hit both of those. Mm-hmm. And Kansas City came up with stops there. Buffalo was continuously running Josh Allen on QB sneaks to the left side. Kansas City adjusted, got stops. One of them on a 2-point conversion. The corner blitz on the 4th down, money play. Let's blitz our best corner and come after Josh Allen on this play. Force him to make a throw when he doesn't want to. Kansas City needs 2 first downs to cinch the game away. Oh, Andy Reid goes ahead and schemes the running back wide open over there at the flat. And so it's always these situations, just key money time situations where the Chiefs coaching staff, not the players per se, not the roster. There are rosters who can get with Kansas City's roster. Yes, they have Patrick Mahomes and Travis Kelce and Chris Jones on the defensive end, elite players, absolutely. Mm-hmm. But as a roster, the rosters, I mean, Buffalo got a roster that can get with Kansas City. Baltimore got a roster that can get with Kansas City. If healthy, I think Cincinnati's could get with Kansas City's. But the coaching, like I said, those money, I gotta have it situations.
And then you got this one, and this was what was really to me, I saw as a huge key factor for Kansas City. Patrick Mahomes, he took what Buffalo gave him. I mean, you could be mad at all situations about what Buffalo did, all of it. Look, I did not see in the second half where Patrick Mahomes threw a deep ball for a big shot. Over the crossing routes, just took what Buffalo gave him, and he just picked them apart by over the middle, over to the side shots that just turned out to be 6, 10, 12, 14-yard plays. And if you're just going to play back and make sure that Patrick Mahomes doesn't throw a shot downfield, fantastic. But you got to have somebody up close because he's picking you apart 14 yards at a time. You know, and so, I mean, look, there's a lot of things that people go around and I see them. Sometimes I'm like, man, yeah, the ref should have called that. I mean, let's go back to the Atlanta thing, back when Kansas City should have got beat by Atlanta, but they didn't call the pass interference. Like, yes, there is times where Kansas City may get a little bit of a benefit of a call. But here's the fact of the matter is that most of the time Kansas City wouldn't be in most of those games if it wasn't for Mahomes taking what the defense gives him. Right over the boom, 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 boom. Okay, well, if you're just going to give me this all day long, yeah, I'll go 41 for 47 for 190 yards with 6 touchdowns. Absolutely. I'll pick you apart all day. You got to take something away. You got to take that away too. So, I mean, you know, regardless of what anybody says about refs or anything like that, if Patrick Mahomes is going to pick you apart for 14 yards of a pass, nothing you can say about that.
Sometimes just playing a clean football game due to the victories. And Kansas City plays clean ball. They play cleaner ball than anybody else. So it's a combination of things, Patrick. They play cleaner ball, and when plays need to get made,
they make them.
Kansas City makes them. The other teams do not. They for whatever reason, they do not come through at those money times. When you can do that, you play clean football, you put a lot of pressure on that team. They're already pressured just by the simple fact they're playing the champs. So they're coming in saying, man, we got to be perfect. And so
look, when you're going against Taylor Swift like that, Charles, you got to be perfect. Money ball, right there. Money ball. Taylor Swift.
Taylor Swift done had how many boyfriends? Like
hey, she's been around. She's got to be around. That's the only way she makes those records.
We gotta be careful about talking about Taylor Swift before we get attacked by the Swifties.
Yeah. I don't want to get hit by the Swifties or the Chiefies. Not neither one of them.
So we will get Cheekies. So we'll get to the Super Bowl. We'll talk about that more next week. Again, there's 2 weeks to talk about it. The game happens on February 9th, so we'll talk about that. But since coaching has been a big theme on for this week and on this show, let's talk about a few of these teams, Patrick. And I guess we could start with the Buffalo Bills because, and I guess where I'm going with this is after losses. So from the Buffalo Bills to the Baltimore Ravens to the Pittsburgh Steelers, it's been a debate, I guess, if you want to call it that. I'm starting to hate the word debate just because of all these shows that are out here. But
Stephen A. Smith, he's got a debate show every day.
Well, I get the whole Fox Sports 1 lineup is debate shows. At least ESPN throws in an NBA or NFL Live or something like that.
Well, they got to throw something in there, NBA or LeBron James, man.
or Pat McAfee show that they throw in there. All of Fox's shows are just debate, blah blah blah. But with the coaching, I guess the debate was, is it time for a change in these places? So cool, we'll go ahead and ask these questions about whether or not Buffalo, Baltimore, Pittsburgh, do they need a change at the head top? Now I'm pretty sure you and I are going to agree on all three of these, but let's just go ahead and throw it on out here. So with Buffalo, since we've been talking about them, is it time for them to look at Sean McDermott and say, you know what, we've been getting to this point and we just continuously run into Kansas City and we can't beat them? Is it time for a change to get a coach who I guess will make the calls? Because I think it's just situational coaching. I don't think he's just garbage as a coach personally. What do you think about Sean McDermott?
I mean, I could go either way with this one. Okay. And this is the reason why. Buffalo has made strides since he has taken over into the right direction. If he is willing to stick to what he does to get himself there, I think he should stay. Now, I'm not too keen on some of the coaching staff that he has, but I mean, I'd say run it one more time with him, and if he runs into Kansas City and makes the stupidest mistakes, like not run James Cook again, he gotta go, man. Like, we need somebody that's going to pull the trigger on the next level. And if he's not willing to pull that trigger for the next level, then we got to move to a place or to somebody that will. I'd say run it back with him one more time and let's see what we got.
And another thing with your point, Patrick, remember when the Bills did lose one of these other playoff games to the Chiefs, they had a lead with 13 seconds and played prevent defense and gave up a field goal, and then they went to overtime.
Yeah.
And so so I could definitely see where you could say you could go either way with that one, because the coach, when you get, you have to be able to make that call and live with that call. Sometimes these coaches, they're scared to make that call, and then they end up losing anyway. And so,
we've said it on this show many times, dude. There's a difference out of losing a game and playing not to win, or playing not to lose. You can't play not to lose. And in that field goal game where Kansas City took them into overtime, he was playing not to lose. And we all know 8, 9 times out of 10, you're going to lose that game. You gotta play how and what got you there. So if you're gonna play prevent defense, you play prevent defense with a 4-point lead and they gotta have a touchdown. You don't play prevent defense while they're in field goal range and they only need 3 points to tie you up. And we all know how the overtime is going to go. We all know how it's going to go because it happened, 3 times? The last 3 times I remember it happening. Kansas City won the toss and they elect to take the ball and they go down and they score. And it happens almost every time. So you can't play not to lose when you're only up by 3. Play not to lose when you're up by 10 with 13 seconds left and dare him to beat you that way. He can't play like that. That's the reason why I'm saying I could go either way with him. If he stays, I'm not mad. If he goes, I'm not mad either.
I'm with you. By the way, yeah. I mean, yeah, run it back with them and see. This time, if you get into that position again, can you make these plays? Can you find that balance? Because I think that's the main problem with a lot of these coaches, particularly when they play Kansas City. They can't find that balance with the calculated risk. It's okay to be aggressive, but not aggressive to where you're going for it 4th and 1 from your own 30. It's okay to have some times where you say, I'm going to kick the field goal instead of trying to go for it and get a touchdown. But let's at least make sure we're not to the position where we're trying to, I guess, chase points. You want to go ahead, get the field goal right there in the first quarter just to get something feeling good about, like the Washington drive we were talking about. Get some points. And hopefully you don't give up a
62-yard
play. Oh, goodness. But I think that's the key, though, Patrick. Where's that balance between being aggressive, being calculated, making sure that you don't play things too aggressively to where you're just over here just chasing stuff.
But also make the calls that make sense. For example, like in run play situations, run the ball. And if they can't stop your running back, run it more. I mean, and we're going to keep going back to, for James Cook to only have 13 touches and he's averaging 7 yards a carry. Sorry, man, you got to make those. You got to make those calls, and you got to take that ball out of Josh Allen's hand and put it into the playmaker hand. You got to. He's making 7 yards a carry, so you got to give him that ball. You got to feed him, because we all know running backs like Cook, they get better as the game goes. And he is that type of running back. So you also got to make those calls too, the calls that make sense. 7 yards a carry, you're running that ball, and you're gonna have another running back that's probably gonna match that or come really close, because James Cook is doing it and he's thrashing that defense. Chances are your backup running back's probably gonna get 12 carries and he's gonna average around 5.5. You know what I'm saying? So you got to make that call too. The calls that make sense, the mathematical calls that just make sense. Run the ball.
I think, and we're going to talk about it a little bit more, particularly when we talk about John Harbaugh with the Ravens. I think sometimes when you get into these games, you have all these stats, all these quote unquote next gen stats, all these numbers running around. And I think a lot of the coaches get into their own head and they complicate things.
Mm-hmm.
Sometimes it is as simple as you have a big physical offensive line. You need to use them. And Buffalo had a physical advantage.
Mm-hmm.
Running the football. And so why you don't continue to expose that, because you see they did it in the third quarter. They came out there and they ran the ball. Josh Allen, I don't know if he threw a pass on that first drive they had. He might have thrown one pass, maybe, but it was Cook runs. Hell, maybe all Cook's 13 carries came on that drive.
Probably.
And like and then they got the ball back. They had the lead, and then they wanted to go with the QB sneak. Look, man, if James Cook and that offensive line cannot get you inches, then what are you doing? Right? I mean, I understand the tush push has become very popular because of what the Eagles have been doing, but you still got the running back there. Don't put all those hits. You don't need to put those quarterback hits on Josh Allen like that. It's cool. I mean, he's big, he's physical. I understand it. And I don't mind him or other quarterbacks like Lamar Jackson and Jalen Hurts and even Jaden Daniels. I don't mind them running the ball. But where all the bodies are like that, turn around, give it to your running back. Your running back can get you.
Let your running back get your inches and be good with it. And chances are James Cook's probably going to pop off for 4 or 5 yards, and that's not, and then it's not a debatable run, because it is a debatable run. And when I saw it, I felt he got the first down. Looked like he got the first down to me. I mean, but apparently he didn't. But you got to give it to the running back. So I would say with Buffalo, I'm not mad either way, but I would say if he can't do it this coming up year, give me something different to look at. We might have to go in a different direction.
What about John Harbaugh?
We got to go in a different direction.
Oh, you ready? You ready for him to go?
I'm ready for him to go, and this is the reason why. There's coaches, and I've told you this many times. Like, there's coaches that are really good at building a team, and they can't coach that team. But if they hand it off to the next head coach, they'll coach it up, right? Take Texas several years back when they had what's his name, and you were like, I don't think you like that as a hire. And I was like, dude, he's not here to win you a championship. He's here to get you into that position where when they hand it off to the next head coach, he's going to win you a championship. The guy came from Utah.
No, you're talking about Tom Herman.
Yeah, he's not your coach that's going to win you a national championship. Stark, on the other hand, is right. Harbaugh, he may win you a championship at another team, but this team right here, he is plateaued. He cannot take them any higher. It's been proven year after year after year. At a certain point, you got to go, okay. Harbaugh is at the year where Buffalo's head coach is. Now you got to go. Bro, you've got me here 20 times. You can't get past this game. You got to go. So I say it's time to move with him.
So real quick, with Tom Herman, so here's why I said I wasn't a fan of the hire. The expectations was he was going to get them to a national title. Mm-hmm. And I said, if you think that, no, that's not the guy. No,
he's not the guy. So I like the hire, but I knew what the expectation was.
Yeah, because he'll get recruits in. Mm-hmm. Because he came from Houston actually. And since he was there in Houston, big, megatropolis, largest city in the state of Texas, and we know the talent that is there. So he already had that pipeline down in Houston. He could get those players from Houston to Austin and start getting those recruiting class better. And now, like you said, got Sark in, bam. You get to a couple of semifinals, hopefully with Arch, get that championship. I know you think otherwise with Georgia, but that's all right. Got my hopes.
No, you got to go through Georgia first. but look at where you're at. And see, for me, I like the hire of Herman, but I knew he wasn't going to last long, one. And two, I knew what he was going to do. And I knew exactly what his role was. Give him 2, possibly 3 years, let him get some recruits in, start getting those boosters in out of the pot. And he did everything that he was meant to do. He started getting the boosters' hands out. He got some recruits in. He had that losing season. You got to go, bro. You've done your purpose. You served your purpose. Now let's get the person in that's going to win our championship. Enter Stark. Stark ain't playing that game. He ain't going to play that game. No. You still got your pinkies in there. Get your little pinkies out of my booster club. Sit out. I ain't got time for it anymore. I'm going to finish the recruiting, and we're going to compete. And that's what happened. So I liked the hire of Herman because I knew what that was. It was just a simple, let's get this in so that we can build it and then get our person in that's going to finish off the job. I liked what Texas did. I liked it. Though I would say I know there was a lot of Texas fans who was like, oh, this guy's going to win us a championship. And I had no expectation of that. None. But your next one was going to be better. That's what Harbaugh is. At this point, he is the guy that's just going to get you to this place. He's going to plateau right here. Now your next guy is going to come in, and he's going to take you to that next level. He's got to go.
So you're saying Harbaugh out.
Go.
So
go work at Buffalo. You can take them to that next level. But you ain't taking Baltimore to that next level. I just don't see it now.
So I think with Harbaugh, what he has against him that Sean McDermott doesn't quite have against him is the number of years he has been there in Baltimore. He has been the coach there since his first season was the 2008 season. The guy that we'll talk about next, Mike Tomlin, is the only other coach who has been at his current position longer than Harbaugh has. And they won the Super Bowl in 2012, and they've had these teams a couple of times. You had the number one seeds in the playoffs. You go out in one round. 2019, where Tennessee came up there and beat them. And then they had the number one seed, of course, last year, got beat by the Chiefs in the AFC Championship. It's been the same thing that we were talking about with Sean McDermott. You have Derrick Henry. And we talked about it last week. You have Derrick Henry. He's got to get more than 16 carries. Last year, you only ran the ball 8 times. And so that's not your strength. As good as Lamar Jackson has become throwing the football, you are a running football team. You are a team that likes to dominate at the line of scrimmage and get that push.
Made perfectly clear by bringing in Henry.
Yeah,
perfectly clear.
You still don't use it like that, or not as much as you wanted to. So, I'm at John Harbaugh. I think him and Sean McDermott are actually at the same points. I know you're like, John Harbaugh got to go. If something doesn't change with that coaching and how they manage this next year, then I mean,
I guess if I could look at it from a graceful standpoint, I would say I guess I could agree with this. I wouldn't be mad if Harbaugh stayed, but I would lean on him needing to go. But I wouldn't be mad about it if he stayed. Because like you said, he did have that 2012 Super Bowl run, which I get. And maybe this is what they're still hoping for, is that run again.
Patrick, it is getting into that period of irrelevancy. If we go too much further.
You only got 15 years and then it's irrelevant. You know what I mean? So I'm just saying, like, I don't want to hear anything past, what is this, 2025? I don't want to hear anything past 2010. And you're right up on that cusp of not being relevant anymore at all. And I don't give a crap what that is. So either you make yourself relevant or you get out. And you creeping. 15 years. 15 years is our limit, right? I think I made that about 6 months ago. 8 months ago. Very clear. 15 years, and that's it.
Started last year with Jonathan Morgan was coming on here talking all that Oklahoma mess.
Oh God!
hadn't won a championship since 2000.
I was like, no, we got to put a deadline on that. Yeah. We got to put a deadline on that. We ain't dealing with that anymore. So 15 years. If you ain't done nothing in 15 years, it's irrelevant.
So speaking of, let's go over to Pittsburgh, to the Pittsburgh Steelers, and talk about Mike Tomlin, because as mentioned, he's the longest senior coach in the NFL now. He's been with Pittsburgh since 2007, or that was his first year, 2007. Won a Super Bowl in 2008, outside of the period of relevancy. He made another Super Bowl with the Steelers, but they got beat by the Green Bay Packers and Aaron Rodgers. Or Rodgers was his only Super Bowl championship. Pittsburgh has, so they're in that zone. They're teetering on that zone, Patrick, where they're not quite good enough to make that push, but they're not bad enough to do something in terms of a shakeup in the draft. So we know the stats with Mike Tomlin. Since he's been there, the Steelers haven't had a losing season. I guess the question now is, how far does that carry weight as to why he stays?
Well, dude, this one's a hard one. This was a hard one because I like Tomlin, man. I like him. I do. He is outside of relevancy, unfortunately. But I don't blame everything on Tomlin. I can't blame him because they're like they're like the old Detroit. You know how I always told you, I was like, Detroit needs to spend some money on a line, right? They're playing this little, I'm going to save some money game, and they're not getting the players they need. The fact that he keeps getting them into the playoffs is mind-boggling to me, that they're still getting into the playoffs, that they're still irrelevant enough to get into the playoff. But they're never going to get any further than the first round, because when you get to that caliber of teams, it's not about wins or losses at this point. This is about wins, and that's it, because you are one and done going into the next part of the season. So the fact that he keeps getting them to the playoffs, this is where I'm like, he's got to stay. But Pittsburgh's got to spend some money to get some players in there so that he can coach them to the next level. But if they're not going to get him the players that he needs to get, then they don't need to blame him for all the losses. They have to take some of the blame themselves. My thing is that he's got to go, but it's not Pittsburgh that fires him. He needs to leave, because he would be a much better coach somewhere where people want him to be there for more than just a winning season. I think he needs to go, but it's not he needs to go because Pittsburgh needs to get rid of him. He needs to go because he needs to go where he is relevant, and he's not relevant in Pittsburgh. And he has way too much coaching experience to die in Pittsburgh. His career cannot die in Pittsburgh. So I say he needs to go, but he needs to go on his own and get to a team that is going to give him that next step. Like Baltimore. You see what I'm saying? But that's how I feel about him. He's such a good coach, and I've always liked him so much because he gets the best out of his players, and he's not playing with the best. He's got to go on his own time, and he needs to go somewhere where people are going to value what he has as knowledge and take the team to the next level, because he is that coach. To take you to the next level, he's that coach. But if the team's not willing to pay any money to get the people in there to play his type of game, they're one and done first round.
So, to your point, one of the things I like to take a look at, this isn't known as any gospel. This is just purely the Chuck Taylor power index here. The Chuck Taylor evaluation.
Oh, so this is BOFA Sports Next Gen Stats right here.
Yeah.
Let's just do it. Let's fall into it. This is BOFA Sports Next Gen Stats right here. Chuck T All-Star.
The funny thing though, Patrick, is like this has nothing to do with stats at all, and it's about when you're looking at football. When we're sitting here, we're watching these games on Saturdays, even, and on Sundays or whatever other day games are on. You want to see if the players are putting out that effort. If a coach is on the hot seat, is there a sign that he is losing those players? And if they are, like if they get out or they go out and they fall behind 14-3 or something like that, do they have the heart to come back, or is that going to turn into 35-3? If it turns into 35 or 40-3, the players have probably let go of the rope, and it's probably time for a change.
Yep.
That does not happen with Mike Tomlin. Like, though he has those players engaged, he hasn't lost them. And like you said about the team in Pittsburgh, he is getting, in my estimation, the most he can get out of that team that is there.
He honestly gets more than he should out of that team.
Yeah,
every single year.
Like, should they even? Because are they?
That team should have never made it to the playoffs.
Yeah, I don't think any coach is getting that team to a playoff. You know, getting them.
Not even Andy Reid. Nobody's getting that team to a playoff.
Yeah,
Tomlin did.
Yeah, and so I think Tomlin. Here's another thing with Pittsburgh too. You're going to have patience in Pittsburgh. That is one of the very few places where they are patient with their coaches. This is a franchise who has had three head coaches in 50 years. I mean, it's insane. In this age, I mean, some teams, they have 3 coaches in less than a year. The dude that they fired, interim dude, and now we hire another dude to take over. I'm just a dude that's just taking the place of another dude.
I'm the intern of the intern of the intern of the intern.
Yeah. If you
how old are you? I'm 16.
Yeah.
Well, you're fired. What? Only in Chicago. Only in Chicago.
And so in Pittsburgh, Chuck Noll, Bill Cowher, Mike Tomlin. That's it. That is the list of coaches they have had in like the last, maybe it hasn't quite been 50 years, but at least 40. I mean, Noll's coaching in the 70s. And so,
and Tomlin's already been there for almost 20.
Yeah, 2007 was his first year. And so this, I'm with you. I think that the Tomlin should stay until he decides it's time for a change. And I think about going back to that patience, the Rooneys who own that team, they'll give them that. Like they'll say, dude, look, you got everything you need here. We're gonna give you the support. You can run the team the way you see fit. Now, it's up to the Rooneys and all those other people in the front office to say, okay, we obviously got the coach. We need to get him a better team around. We need to go and we need to get this offensive line straight. We need to get some better receivers. And, you know, the defense pretty strong in Pittsburgh. The defense is normally pretty strong in Pittsburgh. So you can...
That's where most of their money is.
Yeah, exactly. You can still, even there, you can make a few improvements. You might need like another linebacker or maybe another strong safety to play with Minka Fitzpatrick back there. But I think that's what it would take. Like Mike Tomlin would have to say, you know what, I think everything
full control.
Yeah.
Let me do what I want to do, but be ready to write a check. You know, and at that point, you could see Pittsburgh making a run. Because if he can get this team to the playoffs, if he had a little bit more control, it might be Pittsburgh in the Super Bowl this year. Because if he's getting this out of this team that no other coach is ever going to get into the playoffs, and he's getting them to the playoffs, I mean, you got to give credit where credit's due, and that dude is doing his thing. So, but yeah, I think if he goes, he needs to go on his own. I don't think Pittsburgh will fire him. Like I said, I think the Roonies are very happy with a consistent winning season.
They like stability. They're about stability.
And the money is coming in, and Tomlin is making what he wants to make. I mean, he literally walked. I mean, I remember back in 2007, they said, name your price. And he named it, and they gave it to him. You know what I mean? So it's like he's going to get what he wants. And he's quite comfortable with where he's at. Then, hey, dude, live out your life. Get your winning seasons every single year. End your coaching career as one of the winningest coaches in all of NFL, and be happy with that, bro. You talk about job security. You got job security in Pittsburgh, bro. So do your thing.
Well, all right, Patrick. With that, man, let's move on over to the NBA. And I think, like I said, I mean, with the coaches and stuff, we're pretty much on the same page, just depending on the situation. I guess except for the Harbaugh one, where you're like, "Yo, dog, you gotta go." But
he's getting close to. He's getting really close to out of relevancy. So yeah.
Well, let's take a look at this situation on the NBA. So you got Jimmy Butler. We mentioned
Jimmy's out of relevancy too.
We've mentioned Jimmy Butler. I think this was last week or a couple of weeks ago when he was crying about his contract. So now it has blown up to where Miami said, you know what, dude, we are suspending you indefinitely. You are being a malcontent. You're missing team flights. You are upset that you're not going to be in the starting lineup after being suspended. And it looks like it's heading for a trade of some sort. I guess, of course.
Anyway.
Yeah, and I guess it depends on what teams are willing to give for that. And then if you don't trade them, then I guess the suspension will still stand, as far as I know. So for me, Patrick, if you're upset about the contract, if you feel you deserve a long-term deal, let's say somewhere along the lines of 3 years, $180 million. That's one thing. If you have a dispute about your contract, what you think you should be making, and you want to complain and fight with the front office. When you start messing with the players and the coaches, the people who are still coming there, they're getting ready for these games, and ultimately also, this is the most important thing, they have nothing to do with your contract dispute. When you start affecting them in the way they operate, it's time to get them out of there. It's time to
that's cancerous.
Yeah. Now you're toxic. And Jimmy Butler, look, well, as a player, and I think Jimmy Butler has been, I mean, he's been great. He's been great for Miami. Since he's been there, they have been to 2 NBA finals. They almost got to a third, lost a game 7 to the Boston Celtics in 2022 in the Eastern Conference Finals. And they got what they call, heat culture down there. That's the thing that embodies what they are in terms of the toughness, the mindset that they have. And Jimmy Butler was a huge part of that. But now he is toxic. And I think this is, I think it's overdue that they suspended him indefinitely, because you can't, that you can't do. And it's also, it's not professional. You're being a malcontent right now.
Yeah.
There is a certain amount of professionalism that comes. You're under contract. You're still under contract, and you're still acting like this. So I'm good with it.
You got to go, bro. Look, there's two types of toxic. Now, don't get me wrong. Neither one of them is better than the other. But there's two types of toxic. Jimmy Butler, toxic. Andrew Bynum, toxic.
Why is Andrew Bynum always the go-to with this? I know why he is the go-to to it, but
it's not because it's because Jimmy Butler is a good player. He's a good teammate up until here recently. He's normally a good teammate, but he's always problematic. He's always been problematic.
That right? Has followed him. That is true. It is true.
Andrew Bynum, on the other hand, is not a good teammate. He's not a good. Jimmy Butler's a great player. Andrew Bynum's a good player. Never been problematic. He's just horrible teamwork. So it's a very toxic situation that Andrew Bynum brings in, and he's not afraid to against his own team, yeah. Right? So that's what I mean by there's two toxicities. One is Andrew Bynum, who doesn't bring a lot of problems to the organization, but he's a horrible teammate. Then there's Jimmy Butler, who is a great teammate, but brings a lot of problems to the organization. So either way the case may be, you got to go. Simple as that. If you're just going to be this big of a problem, I don't need this much drama in my life. I don't like bringing work home with me as much as I do now. Why would I want to bring it home with me continuously because Jimmy Butler wants to cry and whine because he doesn't get his way? Send that crap to somebody else who's willing to deal with it. I ain't got time for it. He got to go. And it wouldn't be suspension. I'd be like, who wants it? I'll eat what I need to eat, but who wants it? I don't want it anymore. It's really that simple for me. I don't need it in my life. Gotta go.
I was actually thinking, like, because Miami had suspended him twice before.
Mm-hmm.
Just in the last few weeks. Yeah, just in the last few weeks. You suspended him for 7 games, I think, for conduct detrimental to the team.
Mm-hmm.
Then he comes back and he wants to make it like he's Michael Jordan coming back wearing the number 45. But come on, Jimmy, you're not that. And so like that's comical. Just
the fact that he even thought about it is
and so you come back for a couple of games, your effort is not there. That's where it's getting into the bloodline of the team now. Because now you're just sitting out here and you're dogging it, not playing hard, and it's affecting the players. Mm-hmm. So now they suspend you again. They suspended him for those 2 games because he missed the team flight. I mean, come on, man. Show up. Be there for the flight. What are you doing? And
look, you already know what the schedule is. You got that months in advance. How are you leaving?
So he doesn't show up for the flight. Those 2 games pass. He comes into practice after the 2-game suspension. They say, you're not starting. He leaves. He rolls out because he's not starting. So now Miami finally hit him with you're suspended indefinitely. The suspension is supposed to go basically up to the trade deadline. So we'll see who's willing to trade for him, first of all. Because Miami can say, look, dude, you're trouble now. You need to go. What team is willing to give up? Because there's going to be some assets that the team is going to, whoever it is, I guess Jimmy wants to go to the Suns, which, I mean, Phoenix ain't doing nothing. But
eat to the Suns.
Yeah, so you're going to the Suns
with like just a bunch of other.
You have Kevin Durant and Devin Booker still there, so like really, it's more ball dominant players playing together. That's doesn't work.
He doesn't move the needle. He's not going to move the needle in Phoenix.
No.
I mean, you have to go somewhere where it's going to move the needle, like Portland.
So they're going to be hot garbage, just garbage. Okay, got it.
Hey, look, you're moving the needle.
Somehow. Man, that boy, they trade him to Portland. Oh my gosh, he's gonna be so miserable up there. And nothing against the people in Portland. Like I hear Portland is a great place. I've never been there myself, but NBA players don't necessarily want to go up there. I don't know.
There's nothing there.
Yeah, like I don't.
Look, LeBron moved to LA for one reason. Because there's something to do.
It could be Hollywood, man. It could be Hollywood. You know, so, but yeah, look, man, I think Miami was overdue not suspending him, because I was just gonna say, you know what, just let him just hold out. Just don't. He don't even have to come there. Whatever, we're moving on, and we'll figure out this trade stuff later. But
I wouldn't even make him come to practice. I'd be just like, you're not suspended, you're fired.
Yeah.
Well, I got a contract. Well, contract didn't mean crap for you a while ago.
Yeah, right. Yeah.
Now you're fired.
Oh.
Why? Because you're fired.
Well, Patrick, before we hop on out, man, let's do some baseball talk. Let's do some MLB talk.
Yeah.
So last week we were going to talk about the Hall of Fame, but I forgot. We're just gonna go ahead and put it on myself.
Yeah, just put it the way it was. You forgot.
Yeah,
you forgot.
I forgot. So not this. Ichiro, CC Sabathia, and Billy Wagner are in the Hall of Fame. With Ichiro Suzuki is his full name there.
You say everybody else's full name except for him, but everybody knows he's like everybody knows it's just Ichiro.
Yep, there it is. Yeah. So, but this man almost went unanimous. Almost got a unanimous vote in the Hall of Fame, but there was one voter who said no.
No, I mean, he's a good guy. I mean, he can play.
Yeah.
Everybody else thinks he should be. Yeah, I mean, he was all right. I mean, there were a few people better than him that year. Not up for the Hall of Fame. I mean, he was all right.
So I just wonder, because I'm looking at some of these players, just going back, and we talked about this a little bit off net, but you have one player ever.
And this surprised me. I did not think about this either, but I thought there was quite a few more. But
nah, man, you have one player, New York Yankees closer Mariano Rivera. He is the only player in MLB Hall of Fame history to get a unanimous vote in there. There are a few more who came close. Ichiro's one of them, of course, but among the list, Ken Griffey Jr., Cal Ripken Jr., Derek Jeter, and Nolan Ryan above, and George Brett among I think I want to say it might be 9 players, I think was the list I was looking at, but they were on the list, all those players. So to me, that's wild. Like Willie Mays was it unanimous, yo?
I mean,
hey,
dude,
was it unanimous?
There's so many that was in my head that I could have swore was like, I mean, I didn't think it was going to be unanimous, like a lot of them, but I figured like
double digits, right? Maybe.
I mean, I'm thinking double digits and maybe like 11 out of baseball history. You know what I mean? 11. Jackie Robinson did not get it. You know what I'm saying? Like, to have one was I just stunned me. Just stunned the crap out of me, dude, with all of these players that has done what they've done for the game. And like, I mean, look, I've told you this many times. My favorite baseball player of all time, like out of any position, is Ken Griffey Jr. Like, he is my favorite. And I didn't expect him to get unanimous. I expected him to be close. But he went with all of those strikes. And, those strikes were happening at his prime. I told you this many times. That if it was not for those strikes, I think that dude would hit over 1,000 home runs.
Strikes and injuries, because injuries slowed him down.
Injuries slowed him down, especially at the more after the closer to the end of his career. But I'll tell you right now, not one thing will ever change my mind that man would have over 1,000 home runs in his career, without a doubt. For him to have 600 and he's missed as many games as he did, what was 682? Was his total? Please, he almost had 700 and he missed half of his career. But for one just blew my mind. I could have swore there would have been 11, 12, maybe.
And it's Mariano Rivera. Nothing against Mariano Rivera. Like, he was a great closer, but he was a closer, which means you're seeing him in the 9th inning, maybe a little bit of the 8th. And all these players who are position players playing every day, none of these guys were unanimous, but Mariano Rivera is the only one.
I would have, if anybody, I would have thought Nolan Ryan would have made it, because, to me, if you're picking a player in baseball who is the GOAT, and many people will be like, oh, I got Derek Jeter, or I got so-and-so and so-and-so and so-and-so, whoever, Willie Mays. I got Nolan, and this is the reason why. Because this is
Hey, Patrick, is your microphone all right? You kind of drowned out a little bit.
How about now?
Okay, yeah.
I probably need to talk. How about that? I'm not enunciating. That's what it is. What did you miss? I'll just start over. It don't matter.
Yeah.
Nolan Ryan is my all-time GOAT in baseball, all time, because he set records that no one will ever break, ever. I don't care how many years you're gonna play. If you can't do what this man did, you're not considered a GOAT. That guy did not even get unanimous. He was close. I think he missed it 98%, right?
Yeah, him, Ken Griffey, Cal Ripken, George Brett, among others, they were at 90, and Derek Jeter, they were
97 and up.
Like 97, 99.7. Like, it was just like that close.
Like, did the guy's left hand vote against his right hand?
Yeah, I know.
Like, how do you get that? That just blows my mind. But I don't know.
Tom Seaver was another one too, I think.
Yeah. And you could just go down this list. We could probably start, if we really start listing and thinking about these players. But Nolan Ryan didn't even get it, and that, to me, he was the pitcher. Like, he was the pitcher. I'd expect Greg Maddux to be close, but I wouldn't expect him to get unanimous. But I don't even think he was like in the top 90. You know what I mean? But it just blew me away when we said that, and Mariano Rivera was the only one. I was like, no way. There's no way. And even now, I still even have problems with believing it. But it's just crazy with all the players in baseball that there's only one. That was crazy to me. But hey, shout out to the three that made it this year with Sabathia, Wagner, and Ichiro.
See, yeah, and going up there to Cooperstown, New York. Patrick, one day we gotta take a trip up there. Yeah.
On my bucket list. I cannot believe I hadn't even been yet. That's what surprises the crap out of me. How am I a baseball fan?
And you haven't been to the Hall of Fame. What?
I've been to the Hall of Fame. What's my problem?
Shoot.
I've been to several of the other ones, but I haven't been to the baseball one.
I haven't been to like the major 4 North American sports. I haven't been to any of them. I haven't been to Canton, Ohio for the NFL, and been to Springfield, Mass for the NBA. and I hadn't been to Cooperstown to the MLB. I just want to go to one of them.
I want to go to Cooperstown. That one is on my bucket list. That one's on my bucket list.
Let's see if we can make it up there one of these days.
That's on my bucket list. I'm going.
Well, all right. Well, shoot, that will conclude this. Oh, before we do that, what's going on with Bro Epic? I was about to end the show, but
we have started some new segments on Bro Epic. I started my Monday morning motivation, so you got to go and check that out. That's on Instagram, Facebook, and Threads. And I'm also doing a Friday wrap up that I'm only going to put on those 3 as well. We finished our Pop Darts tournament, and we're fixing to get into our new tournament. I don't even know what to call it really, but it's a football, bubble ball, basketball tournament that we're going to put together. It's going to be pretty fun, where these kids are going to be knocking each other around and on the ground and stuff. So it's going to be funny too. And then look out. I have not put a date on it yet. I am shooting for the 7th, but it might be the 14th. I don't know. But we have our dodgeball episode coming out from the Boom Boom Room. So I got all of that stuff and I'm editing it now. But I would say expect it sometime around the 7th or the 14th. And I am shooting. I'm about 70% sure I will have it done by the 7th.
The Boom Boom Room.
It's such a cool place too, man. Like it's a really cool place.
I have to check it out next time I come on down there.
I'll take you over there. It's fun. It's fun. They did a lot of fun things, and the people, man, the people are nice. I love them to death already. So
that's what's up, man. And shoot, maybe we'll do a BOFA Sports webcast, maybe from the Boom Boom Room or.
Hey, they'll let us. It won't tell you, dude. I'll put a camera in there, and I got all the equipment to do it now.
Oh, nice.
So we're good. I'll talk to them and see if they'll let us bring the kids in, and we'll sit over there in one of the cages and do the show while the kids hit. And then you'll lose me because I'll be like,
yeah,
get your head in. What are you doing?
You're like, Charles, just do the show. I'm gonna join.
I gotta go fix this.
I'm gonna go play. Yeah.
I'll be right
back. Over here, so that keep an eye out for all those things coming from Bro Epic, and over here at BOFA Sports, as you saw yesterday, shorties are back. So I did a shorty, a quick 9-10 minute spiel on coaching. Coaching's been a big theme this week, and so and I did a blog article for it for BOFA Sports as well, so you could go over to WordPress, check that out. And also,
gotta get my topic for Friday then.
Yes. So look for
I'm bringing my shorts back too.
look for Patrick Shorty to come on at the end of the week, and that's about it. Yep. Interviews coming up. Lots of different things coming up for both products. So, as usual, subscribe to the channel, follow whatever pages, and that will keep you up to date with everything that is going on, everything that we have on the production line. So with that will conclude this edition of the BOFA Sports webcast. So y'all make sure y'all visit the BOFA Sports YouTube channel, smash that subscribe button, and follow the BOFA Sports Facebook page. Everybody take care. And again, be on the lookout for Patrick Shorty at the end of the week. And for the webcast, we will see you at the same time next week. So y'all take care.